what goes into being president. You've observed what it takes to do the job, what it takes to get the job. Is Joe Biden up for it?
Well, I think that'll be for the American people to say. But I have to tell you, I know his announcement is imminent tomorrow. Yeah. I welcome President Joe Biden taking his record to the American people. I mean, the record of the Biden
So he's not
administration,
too old to be president?
Well, I think the American people could make that decision.
Leland. All right. Former Vice President Mike Pence an hour or so ago on the debut episode of The Hill. Chris Stirewalt, NewsNation political editor, with us now. If Mike Pence wants to be president, which it seems as though he at least would potentially like that opportunity, which is why you head to Iowa in April. When does he have to start being something other than Mike Pence, the nice guy?
See, I think he wants to be like Joe Biden. I think he's 30 years younger than Joe Biden. No, 20 years younger than Joe Biden. He's a spry 63. But he wants to be like Joe Biden in this way, which is he doesn't want to be an attack dog. He doesn't want to be that. He wants to be normal. What Mike Pence really would like to be is the normal candidate that Republicans can say, because doesn't Mike Pence remind you of George W. Bush a little bit? Faith and values. He's got the squint. Bring together evangelical conservatives with mainstream.
I'm not sure John McCain would agree with that.
No, but you take my point. Mike Pence's path to the presidency is not by becoming a combatant, right? Mike Pence's path, what he has to hope is that Chris Christie or somebody, right, is ready to take on Donald Trump. And I think we also have to remember Donald Trump's in a very different position. I've called him MAGA Jeb Bush. He's in a very different position now. As I watch Donald Trump go across the country and rack up these endorsements from the Republican establishment, it's good, right? It's a good thing to have those endorsements, but it just reinforces the fact that Donald Trump is a stationary target, right? He is what he is, and he doesn't have the kind of flexibility, maneuverability that he did before. Somebody's going to take him on. DeSantis is trying it out. Chris Christie says he's the guy, wants to do it. But I don't see a path for Mike Pence as being divisive and being combative. I see him as being pleasantly bland. I mean, that's it. Joe Biden.
There's a reason people like mashed potatoes.
That's right. Joe Biden did not get to be president of the United States by being a combatant. He got it by being cool water to calm people down.
All right. You think about the person who you just mentioned, which was Ron DeSantis, who certainly is now beginning to take jabs at Trump. You can argue how effective they are. But he was in Japan and very rarely for him took questions from the media, from a national media standpoint. Take a listen to the question and the answer.
Will show you falling behind Trump. Any thoughts on that?
I'm not a candidate, so we'll see if and when that changes.
The reaction shot was supposed to be on him, not on me.
I mean, you know, come on. But look, Pence has tried to, DeSantis has tried to enjoy the best of both worlds. He's ended up with the worst of both. He can't do the things that he wants to do as a candidate, but he's still taking the flack and he's still taking the questions. And I would say this to Ron DeSantis. Come talk to the American media. The media strategy that he has engaged in has worked for him up to a point. Being rough on the media, you guys, this whole court is out of order. I reject the question. There's a lot of Republicans who love it. To go to the next level, he's going to have to be able to sit down. And by the way, I don't want to speak for you, but I think he's probably welcome to join us on the Hill at 5 o'clock Eastern time any day that he'd like to, and we can ask him questions in a tough but fair fashion.
Right.
And DeSantis has got to quit hiding from the press. He's got to start answering questions.
Well, the corollary, right, to how we started this is that if Mike Pence cannot throw a punch or won't throw a punch,
right,
Ron DeSantis has got to be able to take a punch. The first time you get hit can't be on the debate stage, and it can't be in Iowa. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.